written there. She talked about the Daniel fast. She talked about
how can you run when you don't know the way of the Spirit?
Oak House Church brings to you the word of life, which is able to build you up and offer you an inheritance among all those that are sanctified. Sit back and listen, and may your life become more like that of Christ as you encounter His word. God bless you.
God planned for your life to make impact. You can be 10 and make impact. You can be 4 and make impact. You can be 29. You can be 30. You can be whatever age and make impact. You make impact, first of all, by praying, by hearing the voice of God. And then you actually take a step forward and do what you're supposed to do. So she's a nurse. She's a life coach. And she's a mother. She has children. And then she's taking a course in psychology. She told me she's hoping she'll be a doctor someday. So if she's doing all of these things, you have no excuse. You can be all that God wants you to be. People are always saying, how are you juggling all of that? Then, ask her how she juggling all of that. And so, thank you. It's been a great session. Thank you again, Ivy. Thanks for waking up very early to join us. We're super blessed.
Thank you.
I saw everybody writing. I had to do a lot of writing as well because so much content. So if you do sign up, the book is in print. So if you do 40 people, I'm going to give them free. And then, of course, if you want to help me buy the books for other people, that would be great as well. So also let Debbie know, I want to buy 2 books. I want to buy 3 books to empower some other person. But I'm buying 40 to be able to just give it for free. It's very interactive. It's pretty good. So you want to get the book. It's called Believe in Yourself. There's also the soft copy. If you want the soft copy as well, and get it across to you. Okay, Ivy, thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you.
God bless you. We'll talk later. Bye. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the next speaker. She's also, like Ivy, she's also a mentee who I've worked with for some years. She's the MD of OneTra. Full name for OneTra is World and Travel Services. So she's going to be speaking to us about business, how she started as a young person. I was very inspired by her story. How she started in school. So there's really no excuse. She's one person that I know that really works hard. She works very hard. She started doing business from school when she was on campus in first year. She bought her car by herself when she was in, I think, second year by herself in this year, same Nigeria. She did work hard, used her holiday productively. I was able to generate enough income to be able to get, do well. And so she's been doing business for the longest time. So you'd want to listen to her. These are real people who have made journeys that you want to make. And the reason we brought all of them is just so you know that, the people that are doing well are not superhuman people. They're regular people like you and I. The only thing they did was to do like what Ivy said, they took a step. So if you learn all this and you do not take a step, it's not going to benefit you anything. Okay, so let's hear from Fumi Faloye. Please appreciate her. If I be, God bless you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. I can hear myself.
Yes, I hear you.
Thank you, Rev. Thank you for the introduction. Rev said I work hard. If Rev says I work hard, then what will we say about her? Okay. So good morning. My name is Fumi Faloye. I finished from University of Lagos, just right here. I'm a graduate of chemical engineering. I say that when I introduce myself because my friends still laugh at it till today. That for me, honestly, we don't know how you graduated from chemical engineering. But I'm a graduate of chemical engineering. And I think that's what is important, okay? So just to tell you a story about myself, I'm a young lady from a family of 5. I have 2 brothers. I'm the first. And my mom and my dad. So I have a small family, very close. We do things together. So when I was in University of Lagos, my father wanted me to study medicine. And I remember taking that jam and I thought, I'm not sure about this medicine this man wants me to take, but it was his dream. Then it was always their dream. It's not about now that everyone wants to do fashion. Then it was the typical dream that you should study medicine. If your child is studying medicine, then you're proud and, So we are taking this, the jam. I had my form. I got into the exam hall. And I thought, am I really going to study this medicine? Do I really want this thing? Remember that I'm already seated there. The papers were about to come. And I think the invigilator just said, is anyone here planning to change their combination? Honestly, from nowhere, I just raised my hand that, yes, I want to change my combination. This was in the exam hall. So which means, was I prepared for the combination I'm changing? I'm not sure. But remember that before then, we all do sciences. So sciences means you'd have done math, physics, biology. You'd have done the mix. So I changed my combination, removed the biology, and put physics, chemistry, math. And I did that, So when I got home, I didn't tell anyone I changed my combination because I would have shattered them, I didn't tell anyone. So the result came out, and I had a combination, and my course was medicine. But the combination was off med. No one is going to take you in Medilag with physics. What's their business with your physics? And they want biology, So then I now said, oh, yes, I changed my combination on that day because I really don't want this medicine, But thank God. Then, I gave my parents double work. They had to be going to Unilag every day to see how this engineering department that I want would accept me, because my combination was for engineering, but my course was medicine. Now, why am I saying that? At that time, I just knew I wanted something that had to do with figures. I just wanted numbers. I don't like all this reading. Biology, you will read, cram, read. I don't like it. I would rather figures. So I didn't mind physics. I didn't mind mathematics. I can manage chemistry because it has some, practicals. I have numbers for the science student here. So, of course, I started engineering. Luckily, the cutoff I had was good for engineering. So, that's how I got into chemical engineering. Oh, fantastic. We're just a few girls in engineering. So it's always fun. You see a lot of guys with very few girls, So you find a lot of us girls in engineering, we wear trousers because we just want to blend with our guys, And we're just a few girls in chemical. But I noticed that the moment the classes started, once the lecturer says good morning, that's all I need. It's like a sleeping pill. Once he says good morning, I go to good night. I'm sleeping, and I'm sitting at the back. And you remember me year one, and this is not a funny course. So year one, I slept, then I'll photocopy notes. I'm just telling you that that's giving you an idea that, honestly, it doesn't look like this girl is going to leave this department, right? So I'll just photocopy the notes 2 weeks to the exam, and then it just went on like that. But I wanted to do more. So, I told my mom I want to start selling some things to the Unilag girls. I had a lot of friends, some money from their parents, some whatever, wherever. Everybody, we're all mixed, we're all in school. But, I was clear on who I was. My parents, my family, what I'd been trained to be. There's some things I can't do, but everybody here is my friend. We're all friends. And then I started doing business. Of course, I come from a family with women that do business, so it was easy to get encouragement from my parents. Okay, yes, let's start. So I started reselling clothes to my friends when I was in engineering. So I was in engineering, but I was always going to Italy. I go to Italy during school for 4 or 5 days. Then I come back, and then I sell the leather bags, the shoes. All my friends were my customers, so I was selling to them, and it was fun, and I was making the money, and it was okay, saving the money and all. But when we got to final year, remember that I've been making photocopies from year one. So by year 5, there was a course that started, business in engineering. And the first day the lecturer came, as usual, I call myself for me sleeping beauty. I'm at the back, and I'm sleeping. But as he was talking, I just couldn't close my eyes again. I couldn't sleep. And I was excited about what he was saying, talking about demand, talking about supply, talking about selling, talking about, which means, is it possible I was supposed to be an art student in either accounting or something, but I found myself somewhere else? What am I saying? Is it ever too late? So I started sitting in front. I started getting to his class on time. I wasn't sleeping. I had a full note throughout that particular class. But this class came in year 5. And we're graduating in year 5. Because engineering is a 5-year course, right? So at the point where we're graduating, I was clear on my path. I am not going to the rig. Everybody in my class was looking for the oil company. Mobil had called a lot of us, Shell. I was sure I was not going. I'm not going to any rig. I'm clear I want to do business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I thought of all sorts. I thought of even doing pure water. I thought of doing this. I thought of all sorts. And I kept telling myself, it's engineering also. Why do we learn what we learn in school, for whatever it is? It's to form you. It's not necessarily to do that course, but it's to form you. So what have I learned with the engineering I did? I have learned to be analytical in my thinking. I'm good with figures. I like my figures. I like, my numbers. So I've learned all that. Do I need that in the business space? Okay. Are we too address? Okay. Do I need that in the business space? Yes, I do. I need my figures. I need, I need to understand how to do the business. So, I'm out of school now. Then I'm thinking, what do I want to do? Then I start thinking about it. Okay, I love traveling. I like to advise people on where to go to. I enjoy finding new places. So I want to go into the business of travel. And then I started. At this time, now travel, you find a lot of young people in it. At this time, these were people that were old enough to be my parents. They were not young. The big players in the industry were older people. They had been there for 10 years, 15 years. But I needed to find that niche. What did I really enjoy? Is it in the flight booking, or is it in this finding where people would go to? So I had to just create the niche for myself in my own little space. I don't want to compete with the biggest when I don't even have the experience they have. But I need to learn over the years the experience they have, and then I can be strong enough to play in their space, right? So I started small. I think my first office was like 10 square meters in GRE. I started small there, started with my friends, telling them what I was doing, and the business started growing. Now, remember something, even though the business started growing, what I would say to myself today, if I was going to play back and say, what was that thing that was missing at that point? It was, if I know what I know today, I would have started early with God in the picture. Because was it that I was hardworking? Yes, I was. Did I know what I wanted to do? Yes. Was it profitable? Yes, it was. But you see, when I now add the extra on it, God in the picture, I would not make a lot of mistakes I made, because I would go by what the first speaker said. I will be discerning. I will pray about every single thing before I do it. Because when you're doing it yourself, even if you're hardworking, you will make mistakes, right? When you make those mistakes, they can be very costly. But when you do it with God in the picture, you'll be able to remove some mistakes. Does not mean you will be walking in fear, but you'll be more careful in the things you do. You will not be excited about everything, because as a young business person, you can easily be excited about everything you see. Oh, they said they're making money here. Then you find yourself moving there. Then, oh no, they said that's not what is working now. This is what is working. Then it takes you away from your focus and what you really want to do. So, going by that, after that, of course, travel was the first business. Then I was in the place where I was now seeking God before doing anything. Now it will be funny to you that the businesses that even came to me after that, after, my relationship with God changed, I prayed about my business, were things that looked like they were smaller than what I was doing. But, it's so fulfilling, because when you're going into something with God in it, the difference is that you would go knowing why you are there. So when you find people doing much better than you will be okay, because you are on a journey. Remember that if you come into, like I said, I had competitors that were also doing the same thing. They can have the big figures and the big numbers and, the double digits and whatever. But guess what? God needs to take you through the journey of training. Because if you find yourself doing what they're doing when you are not trained, you will make bad mistakes that you probably might not even be able to get up again from in that business. But if you allow God take you through the process, which means you pray about it, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. I hope you know that you can have a clear dream on how the process should be done. I hope you know that. Can someone answer me? I hope you know that. Has it ever happened to you? Good. So it will tell you, do this first, then do this, then do this, then do this. That's why they say, take it and write it plain. Because you will get the clear vision on how to do what you need to do. Now, then you follow through. There's no point you getting such a beautiful idea, God giving you the vision on how to go through it, and then you're now scared to start. The main issue people have is the fear of starting. Start small. Start with whatever you have. Start with doing it through people. Start with serving. It might be that the idea you have, it's a beautiful idea, but you've never worked in that industry. You don't know much about the industry. Offer your time to people in the industry. Do IT courses with people, things where you can learn the real practical work on how it is done. Not only about doing the courses. The courses are good, but there's something about the experience you get from doing it. So if, for example, you get this beautiful idea of, you want to have a bakery, and your bakery is going to be doing different kind of bread. It's going to have toast bread. It's going to have this. It's going to have that. It sounds really good, right? And you want to sell it to universities. You want to sell it, on the high street. Whatever, it sounds good. But you've never even baked a tiny piece of cake, or you've never even used the oven. But you know that this idea is good. And then the first thing you're going around looking for is money to get a machine, money to get an oven. Don't you think you're starting a wrong way? You first need to get, who are the bakers around me? Which bakery do I like? Do I think their bread tastes good? Can I go there and ask for an IT course for 6 months, for 1 year, to learn how they bake? They don't even need to pay you. You need to start waiting for that late gratuity. Don't want it now. So now I want to work in that factory and they must pay me. No. Why they pay me 10,000? No, they must pay me 100,000. No. At that time you are learning and you're ready to give your time to receive what you need. And then while you're there, you might even get there and realize, did I really hear properly? Or was it that I was hearing something else? And then you go back to what? You go back to God in prayer. That getting to that place, I didn't think it was really what I like. It sounds like a beautiful idea, but I'm not really cut for this baking and bringing out from the oven and all that. And then you've prayed about it. Then you get clarity again. But at least do something about it. Don't say, yes, God told me to have a bakery, but I don't have money to buy the machines. I don't have money for the shop. The shop is the last thing. It's first learning how to do it. Or for some of us, it might be that you're working somewhere and you're like, in fact, this is what I want to do. Why am I even working here? I'm giving them all I have, my whole time, and I'm not, I can do this by myself. We all say this, right? I can do this by myself. Why don't I just start my own? Pray about it. Don't just get up and say, no, I'm done. Pray about it. You have that conviction, okay, I'm done here, and this is what I want to do next. So after the first business I've done a couple of things, and I believe in when you do them. I've had businesses I've done, and I'm like, this thing is not doing as well as I expect it to be. But over the years, you will get better at it. You would know how to sell your product better. You will know how to engage people better. Then it will start doing well. This might not be 6 months. It might not be 1 year. It might not be 2 years. But what is important is you need to be consistent and you need to be persistent to get anything out of whatever you want to do. You need to be persistent. Stay there. If you did it and people say, no, it doesn't really taste nice, or people are not ordering, or people don't want it, go back and check, why is it not tasting nice? Go online, do courses, speak to people, work, do you understand? Give your time, all those things I've said. Try it again. Okay, now they like it, but they said I'm too expensive. So nobody's ordering my product. Then you're angry. Who are you angry at? Nobody even will notice you're angry. So you need to also go back at that time. Why are they not buying my product? Am I using the wrong butter? I'm just using a bakery as an example. Am I using the wrong product? Could I have gotten it somewhere else? Then start talking to people. That's why you need a mentor in anything you're doing. You need a mentor if you're in the career world. You need someone that would help you navigate that area, because it might look like, it's just the same old thing. Do your work, you're hardworking. Rev said something and I said, for me it's hardworking. But you see, I'll tell you something. It's not hard work not only hard work that will take you there. Some people work smart. Why? They pray well. They have a good relationship with the Holy Spirit. By the time they're coming out, they've done, if it's 1 to 10, they've already done 1 to 5. So they come out, and they're like, it looks to you like, where did he come from? When did the guy start? And he's already doing all this. Because he's done the right thing at the right time. But we will go out, do it first, make the mistakes, then run back in, and then start praying about it or talking to God about it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So we need to spend more time inquiring first. And then when you're clear, this is what you want to do. Sometimes some people will say, I've been talking to God, I've been praying, but I can't even hear anything. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. There's something I like that says, whatever your hand finds to do first, do it. But be diligent. There's some things that are clear. Even the Bible says it, that a diligent man will what? What? Good. A diligent man will sit among kings and walk before kings. A diligent man. He didn't say a praying man, a diligent man. So which means whatever it is, you must do it well and you must be diligent. We will fail. You will fall sometimes. You get up again and you tell yourself, I can do this thing better. I can do this thing better. You just need to be diligent at what you do. If you're supposed to get to work 8 o'clock, if you're struggling to get to work, if you work with someone and you're struggling to get to work 8 o'clock and you're having excuses now a lot, when you're working for yourself, you're going to struggle. Don't ever think, when it's my own, I'll do it better. No, because at that time, there's no boss. You are the boss of yourself. So you have to, there's no one to ginger you. There's no one to, tell you things you want to hear. You have to say it to yourself, and you have to do it for yourself. So if you're going to still find yourself in that kind of place, it's about learning to be diligent. Learning to wake up early, learning to do the things you need to do. Just keep at it, keep pushing. It doesn't mean that you won't have times that you messed up, you failed, you just say to yourself, I'm just a mess. It's okay, but don't stay down there. Don't stay thinking, I'm just a mess, I can't do it, it's not possible, I've tried. All those negative things. Because guess what? Once you start thinking of one negative thing, the devil will feed you with many. And you just keep saying, I've tried it. So no matter what people tell you, how it's doable, you have blocked ears. You can't even hear. So it's tell yourself, I can do it. If others are doing it, and we're Christians here. So we keep saying it that, we have the heart of Christ. Christ lives in me. I'm a child of God. But when it becomes time to walk or to do things, then we'll say, I'm still praying. I'm praying. So remember that when the first speaker was saying, I should say, pray, hear from God. She didn't say pray, hear from God and do nothing. She didn't say you shouldn't do anything. So don't say, I've locked myself in the room, I'm praying, I might need to pray for 2 months. No, that's not what she said. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's about you pray and you move. You pray and move. You pray and move. In fact, sometimes as you're praying and you're moving, then the path will become straight. Because it might start, oh, I don't understand this. You get stuck, you pray about it again. Something comes up, someone calls you, you see someone, where you go to. But if you lock yourself up and you're doing nothing, how do you tell someone, I have this beautiful idea? Okay, so how far have you gone with it? I'm still waiting. I'm trying to. When did you have this idea? About a year ago, you're still waiting. That says a lot. You should be able to say, oh, I'm saving towards it. So with my work now, I'm saving to be able to start, but I'm still training, getting myself trained. This is my plan for the year. I know you're going to do visioning. This is my plan for the year. I've been able to do this out of it. The next year I'll do this. My plan is to be able to start fully at this time. I'm going to learn about it this way, because you can only help someone that has something. You can't tell me, oh, I'm still thinking about it. I need your advice. On what? On what you're thinking about? No one can advise you on what you haven't even done anything about. They can only advise you on what you've tried to do something about, but you're finding it difficult to navigate through. And you have to be in the community of the people doing the same thing you want to do. I don't know what you like to do. Some people might say, oh, you want to start doing interior party planning or whatever. Do you know people doing the same thing? Do you give them your time? Do you volunteer in what they're doing? Do you understand? You can't just go and meet someone, I need your advice, but I want you to just be my mentor. A lot of us, we do this mentorship thing. Sometimes we take it off track. Oh, I want you to be my mentor. Okay. And then you're waiting for the person to call you to ask you questions. No, because they also have their life and they also have things they're doing. So you have to be the one trying something, not getting it right, and calling and say, what do you think about this? Not that you're just saying, ma, I'm still waiting. No, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard from God. And you've been waiting 1 year. Our Father is not like that. Try it. Push, move. So everyone here, there's no excuse not to be doing something. And I say to people, do not despise the humble beginnings. Start small. Because when you start small and you make mistakes, you will make small mistakes that can be redeemable. But if you start big, you're about, I need to start big. You might never start anything. You might never start. So what about telling yourself what you want to do? You might not even be sure, but that one you're thinking and you've prayed about and you have peace in your heart about it, can you start that? Start doing that. During COVID, I'll tell you, now I've done travel now for 18 years, but as at COVID, which means I would have done it about 15 years. So I've done it for a long time. And in fact, before COVID, when I was in University of Lagos, I started reselling shoes and bags, like I told you. And then after a while, I started selling jewelry. I was selling gold from Italy. Remember that I said I was going to Italy to buy the shoes and the bags. So of course, I'd seen gold there. And I know that, oh, my mom has friends that would buy. And I started selling that. And then a few friends were still buying. Of course, it's more expensive than the clothes I was selling. So I was still selling that. And then at some point when I started travel, I stopped selling gold. And, during a period in my life, I just felt, I want to go back to selling jewelry. But I'm not selling gold this time because it kept coming to me. Now, remember, did I see one vision that showed me the name of the company, showed me the jewelry, showed me? No. But, there's something about, like Rev said, you need to master or learn how God speaks to you. So some people, you just find yourself in different places where people are talking about that same thing, right? For some people, you just find people that will randomly call you back to back about that same thing. So you need to know how God speaks to you. And then, for me, during that period, it was just I just had it in my spirit that go back to selling jewelry, but this time don't sell gold. Sell accessories that women can buy easily. And I started doing that. Now it looks like, oh, it's small money, but I had a period in my life that was what was keeping me apart from my business. Okay? So now that's why I told you, don't ever look at anything as small. It was small, quite all right. I was selling it to my friends. They would come to my house. I had a sales rep that would also go around and sell. But it was doing much better than I expected it to do. I just thought, who is going to buy this? And then I continued with it. I'm still doing it now. Now, fast forward COVID. In COVID, no one was traveling. We're all locked up in the house, right? Nobody could go anywhere. Nobody was going for parties, so nobody needed jewelry. What does that mean? My two major source of income is locked. We were locked down for almost 6 months. There was no flight. Nobody was going. Was there any birthday party? Everybody was doing Zoom birthdays. Nobody dared to see your face. In fact, people were going to the birthdays wearing their pajamas and all that. So, which means these two things I was doing was gone. But you see, at the beginning of the year, of that COVID year, 2020, I had gone for this visioning meeting that my friend had. And they said we should do our mission statement, our vision for the year. And I put different things. And one of the things I put was the year before was my birthday. And I bought honey for my friends. I wanted to do something different with it. I tried it. I liked it. I did it for like 4 months before I gave it out. And, on that vision board. So that's what I'm saying. Whenever the Lord is speaking to you, it might not necessarily be in your dreams initially. But be sensitive to the thoughts that come to you. Question them. Pray about them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I did this and I thought, I like this honey thing. Let me do it for my friends for my birthday. And I did it. So now we're in lockdown. My birthday was in November. The lockdown is in March. Lockdown really started in March. So which means about 5 months after. But we had done that visioning in January. And one of the things I had put in my own vision board was I wanted to, because I enjoyed doing that honey. I enjoyed it. Not a business thing. It was fun. Infusing it, making it have a particular taste. I enjoyed it. So I said, okay, I'll be doing big jars of that honey. Get like 20 friends that like it. Tell them to pay. And just because I enjoy it, I'll do it, I'll personalize it, and just do it to 20 friends, right? So I had bought honey and kept it at home in January that I'll find the time to infuse it. Let me leave it here. Because my work is very busy. So I didn't have that time to even do it. But I'll find the time. So lockdown came. Now remember, I bought the honey in January. I gave it out to people in November. And this is March. So that's 6 months, right? So 5-6 months after. And then a friend called me and said, Fumi, the honey you gave us for your birthday, where did you buy it from? And I said, I did it myself. He said, are you sure? I said, can I have some? I said, okay, I have the honey. I've been saying I'll infuse it, but I don't have the time. He said, no, let me just pay for 4, please, just infuse it. I said, no, the infusion takes like 1 month or like 3 weeks. He said, yeah, just infuse it. I said, okay. So because I'm now pressed by someone to infuse, I took some and I infused it. Then the next day, another person called and said the same thing. Fumi, the honey you gave us for your birthday, where is it from? Now, that's why I said you must have a discerning spirit. Did I see that in the dream? No. But the Lord will send different people to me. This is back to back. Because I had mastered that is how God speaks to me. It doesn't have to be how God will speak to you. That's why Rev will keep saying you need to know and understand. So the next day, the person called to, I want this honey. Fumi, where is it from? I said, I made it myself. Then she said, have you thought of doing it as a business? I said, I can't. I have jewelry I'm dealing with. I have the travel. I'm like, no. I don't need extra headache in my life. I said, I'll make it for you. Don't worry. Then I did that. Of course, we're home, COVID. We're all bored, doing nothing. I went online and then started. Remember that I'd used my own sense in infusing. I didn't study it anywhere. So I said, let me start looking at this thing. I went online, found courses. Let me just find out more about it. Then it became interesting. So this is how, remember I was just getting the honey off people. I don't know where and how it comes about. So this is how it works. Okay, so the bees do this. This is how they do it. I started learning and I didn't have anything else to do. So I kept reading about it. Then my brother would just call from nowhere because we're all locked up. So he didn't know. He said, Fumi, have you thought about this, your thing that you enjoy doing? To do it in a bigger way. And then from being on that set, I started reading about it. I registered the business while in that COVID. We're at home. Why? I didn't take everything I was told, put it in my pocket, and go to bed. I understood that is how God speaks to me. Then I now went back and said, Lord, give me a name for this business. Give me a name for this honey. Help me. How do I do it? What do I do? Who do I sell it to? How do I sell it? How much? And then I started praying about it. Then it now started dropping bit by bit. Now, that was COVID. By the time COVID was over, I'd sold that December that year. People bought it for their hampers. The printing, I printed it here, just put it. There was nothing special. In fact, at that time when you buy, you pay to my personal account. Remember, it was not a business. And I said, people ordered 200 jars for hampers. Another person ordered 100 jars. And I was like, this thing is not bad. I enjoy it. And guess what? I was doing all that 300, 500 in my kitchen. So did I need a factory? I didn't. Which fridge was I using when I'm creaming? My fridge. I was using the things I had, right? But now, we're in 22 supermarkets. Now, this is starting from COVID in 2020. So I'm telling you that God has something for everyone in every season of your life. Don't think because God has given you this one business, is done with you. No. That business might be for that season. Another season will come. Because in COVID season, what was important was food to everybody. It was food. Now, then I did the NAFDAC. Was the money there at the time? No, you can say no, but you had a business. But remember that my business had been shut down because there's no travel. Then I did the NAFDAC. I did the printing of the label. I got the name. So what now happens to you from that point is every step you're taking on that business, be looking at the picture of, is this what God is saying? If you want to pick the name, you say, is this, before you pick the name, you say, Lord, I want to pick the name now. Please help me with the name. How should I pick the name? Then all of a sudden, somebody will say something to you. Another person will say, to them, they're just speaking randomly. To you, you know what is going on. Right? To you, you know what is going on. That's how we got the name, Glee. To be honest, that day, I didn't have an idea I didn't even look at what would Glee, I mean. My sister just said, oh, Glee, that means happy. And I said, oh, we might not have a website page for it because it's a random, everybody knows happy, Glee. I mean, so people would have used it, went online, it was available. What's that search? When you're searching for a company name, it was available. So, then it starts plugging in bit by bit. The one you see, because things from God, you won't have to struggle. No, somebody already has the name. Oh, okay, let me beg person to give me the name. When our Father owns everything, the cattle's on 1,000 hills. So why do you think is that one somebody is struggling with? No. Yours it will look like, when people say, it just looked like it dropped on my lap. Well, I don't even know what I did for it. You will do it with ease. But you have to carry God along. You have to walk closely with the Holy Spirit. I'm telling you this because I'm telling you things I've tried to do knowing God and things I've tried to do not doing it by myself. Oh, the work is a lot. When you're trying to do it by yourself, the energy you are burning. So in fact, I don't want anybody to say I'm hardworking because when you're hardworking, that means that the energy you are burning is a lot. And a child of God, you should, do you understand? You should do a thing and it should look like, wow, that's a lot. And you're thinking, but I didn't do anything. That is how you should be. I've just seen some people that will come up with some funny designs in clothing. Some people, you see Ankara shorts all the time, right? I mean, it's not, Ankara has been around forever. Then all of a sudden, some fashion designer starts making Ankara shorts and it's just like nobody else have ever made Ankara shorts. Don't you see that? So why is our own different? Why is it different? Because it carries grace. If the grace of God is with you on anything you do, you'll be okay. Everybody can be doing the same thing. I have friends that do some business that I know that the people that do it in that same industry, they're bigger. larger in everything, but they're doing so well that the people you think are larger will now come to you and say, please tell us how you do it. Because you're doing your own knowing Christ and you're doing your own, conscious of the Holy Spirit. So please, what I'm here to tell you today is move first and move with the Holy Spirit. Don't move. Don't say somebody came to tell you to move and you just be running around helter-skelter. Be careful. Move and move with the Holy Spirit by your side. Okay, I'm trying to do this now. Please help me. I'm trying to do this now. Please help me. What are you saying about this? Do you understand what I'm saying? What are you saying about this? How should I do this? How should I do it? And don't give up. Don't give up. Sometimes it might not look like how you want it. It's possible. A lot of times, sometimes we get excited when God is giving us an idea. We're excited. We don't even wait to hear it to the end. We're too excited to even wait to know, okay, am I listening properly or am I hearing it wrongly? At the beginning, you just hear, open a fashion room or have a salon. You just move. You've not heard what are you supposed to do in your own salon. You just, everybody that hears open a salon, don't we know what they do in a salon? Is it not come there, do your braids, wash your hair, relax your hair, Abby? Everybody knows. So you can hear open a salon and you just move. God said I should open a salon. But you don't know. You've not. And what am I doing in my salon? Your own salon can be open a salon just to treat natural hair. Open a salon just to be washing women's wigs. Open a salon just to teach people how to make wigs. You don't know. So we need to press in. You've heard something. Press in. Clarity. How? When? Is it now? Do you understand? Is this information for now? Am I supposed to do some things before I do it? So please, no one has any excuse not to be doing something. I think it's even, to be honest, I think it's embarrassing our Father in heaven when you don't do anything as a Christian. And all you do is you say, I pray. I think Rev has also, I can speak at least for Oak House, Rev has also been able to teach us that you can be a powerful woman of God. You can be, on the pulpit every day and still be able to do something. She's a consultant. She has a fashion house. She has a salon. You can be a child of God. You can be a pastor. You can be a prophet. You can be whatever and still be able to do something. So I hope I've been able to, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want me to shed more light on, please. And I hope I've not gone over my time. If there's anything you want me to shed more light on, let me know. Okay. So we're all fine. We're clear. Thank you so much for having me. It was good. I enjoyed spending time with you. Thank you.
Bless you so much. That was very inspiring. Learning about your journey. I hope that people were able to learn. God bless you. Okay, so before we have a tea break, we're going to take one more speaker and then we'll have a tea break. Okay, when we take the speaker, we'll take in an interactive session. The next speaker will be Pejo Aluko. So what will happen is when we finish, is it Pejo Aluko? Yes. So when we are done with Pejo, we'll take an interactive session. So you can ask questions from Fumi and also ask from Pejo. I'll get Evie back online at that time so that we can ask the three of them questions. And after the Q&A session, we can take a quick tea break and then we'll come back. So, Peju Aluko, are you ready? Okay, and I'm sure you're in the hall. So after the interactive session, we'll take the last two, which is Trauma George talking to us on service, and then we'll have NDPC Aja. NDPC Aja spoke to us about 3 weeks ago, so he's coming back to speak. So Pedro Aluko has been in HR for a long while, and she's risen to be a board member of her company Argentil. So she's going to be speaking to us and helping us on our journey. And she's also managed the career breakout session. For those of you who've been in the career breakout sessions, she's been managing you and Tindio and the rest of them who she's mentored personally. You already have had interactions with Peju Aluko. So let's just appreciate Peju as she comes up stage. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience and for being here. God bless you. All right, Peju. Peju is one of my mentees, the same with Fumi Faloye, the same with Evie Liz that has spoken to you. So these are seasoned people that you're listening from. I'm trusting God that you pay absolute attention to what they have to say and you'll be built up. All right, thanks, Peju. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Rev, and I find it a privilege to be standing here. In fact, Fumi and I were asking if they could bring down the pulpit because we don't think that we deserve to be on this pulpit with you, with the work that yourself and Pastor are doing in the church. So thank you so much. And I can see some familiar faces here. Some of the people in the career group, but I'm not sure if the others have met me before. But my name is Peju Aluko, and I was also in University of Lagos, so I knew where. Thank you. So I knew when Fumi was selling the clothes, the jewelry, the bag, it's all absolutely correct. And everyone just thought, is she really in chemical engineering? Is she a business person? And I was on the other side. I chose, funny enough, I wanted to read medicine as well. So I had done physics, chemistry, biology, and I had straight A's and 2 C's. So it was like I was going to go to do the medicine. But just before I got to, I didn't have that mind, because when she was saying that she changed her papers in the room, I was like, wow, what God. I didn't even have that because I'm from an even smaller family. So we're like 2 kids and my parents, and my brother had gone to boarding house early, so it was like I was an only child, so I dare not try that sort of thing. Anyway, so I told my parents that I wanted to switch to business, so I took on I think it was government, anyway, the social sciences courses in addition to my science courses, and that's how I transitioned to business. Now, initially I wanted to read economics, and somehow, that I was transitioning from, like I said, from sciences to the social sciences. So I guess, I wasn't ready for economics. So I got into University of Lagos to study actuarial science and insurance. And that was in the business administration department. So I graduated just shortly, I think 2 years before Fumi did. So we're in school about the same time. And then, because she did a 5-year course and I did a 4-year course. And then, transition into the world of work. Now, one key thing that Fumi said, which Rev had also said, that I guess I can hold on to talk about that later. But as soon as I got out, I had no direction, to be honest. So secondary school, I think my parents helped with, because my mom was in the educational sector. And so she could help with, guiding everything. And my father would do the same as well, even though he wasn't in that sector. But I got help until uni, which essentially you're on your own. So coming out to school, I had no idea. So the first thing that I heard was that, the banks, where was the place to be? So it was the banks. Everybody wanted to go to the banks around that time. It was the early 2000, because by 2000 I was out of school. And I said, okay, you know what, what's the best bank? So everything was head knowledge. It was, what's the best bank? It wasn't about prayers or anything. So we're all kind of in the same space at that time. It wasn't like we had the kind of work that we have with God now, which in the last 5 years has even been transformed by just being, under the mentorship of Rev. So I decided that I was going to do, to write one of the graduate trainee programs. So I wrote a few. The first was, it's now Stanbic IBTC Bank, but initially it was Chartered Bank was one of the banks that merged. So I passed that test. And by the time I wrote the second one, I passed this test as well and I got an offer. I wrote GT Bank, but the offer came later. So I joined Intercontinental Bank, which then had many mergers by 2006 because there was the capitalization of the 25 billion that the banks were required to do. So by 2006, all banks were looking to merge to get that, capital base. So there were 4 banks that merged together, and in that period was when I knew that there was an interest in me just building a career. Now let me quickly say that it's quite the opposite of Fumi's, because when I had a break during the NYC period, because I came home quite a bit from when I was, because I served outside Lagos, which is where I lived. So I decided that I was going to start business. So I started business. I started doing jewelry. In fact, Fumi is looking up because I'm not sure she's aware. A lot of my friends were not aware that I did this. So I started business and I was selling jewelry. I was selling clothes because I would wear nice clothes. And my friends were like, oh, where did you get that from? Where'd you get? So I just told my dad, I said, you know what, I want to do this. So I started traveling out of the country within that period, and I was selling jewelry, and it was, something that did very well, but like I said, I got the guidance in terms of my career from, like school and the rest of it from my parents. So my dad said, are you sure you want to do this? I think you should go into the work world and then you see how it goes. It will help you build your entrepreneurial skills and you can come out and be a business person. But somehow there was just that, and I think that is one of the gifts that I just realized, with the help of mentorship that I had. I had this inward impression that I was supposed to be in the career space. So there was just that discernment that just kept coming with every time that, a thought came to my mind. So somehow, once the graduate trainee window opened, I took the test, and like I said, I got into Intercontinental. So fast track to a few years, say 4 or 5 years after or so, when I started work, there was the first merger. And the first thing I was thinking about when my mates were just thinking, would we have a job? Would there be downsizing? Was how I was going to support with the integration team that was going to bring about the merger. And, the supervisors at the time, because just 4 years into my career, I was still, junior level, were wondering, how come this person is interested in the big picture? And that's how I didn't know that was something that God had put in there, because it was taking me somewhere. So, I asked to do whatever. It was the due diligence on those who were coming in, all the paperwork, the integration team that HR was part of in just merging the company. So for some reason, today where I work in essentially it's an investment bank where they do corporate finance, those skills that I got even with the first mergers have come to play now. So I think a key point is, wherever you find yourself, no matter how junior you are, just volunteer to be part of it, because the skills and the knowledge that you're going to get is going to be very relevant. So during that first time, I knew about mergers, and this company now does a lot of M&A, mergers and acquisition, and sometimes they need the support of somebody who knows about the internal structures to help them. And that was the first time that, even though I wasn't asked to be on that team, I'd volunteered to be there. So that was my first bout of, being part of a bigger team, even though, I was in HR and I was sort of gaining certain skills. And then I realized over time as well that people that didn't go to the supervisors came to me to speak to them. So I knew there was something that attracted them to me and I could influence them. So that's how I got my influencing skills. And then I knew that I was quite organized, because I would come to work do a to-do list, in managing my time, focused on all that. So it's quite entrepreneurial. I had good organizational skills. So that's something that you need as well that's going to set you apart. You can think that it's a basic skill, but I trust me, it's going to help you throughout your career. Then another thing was, if things were falling through the cracks, if work was given to you and it wasn't as a group and it wasn't getting done, I was the person who was going to follow up with everybody that needed to do their own part. So I would say that I gained good follow through or follow up skills as well, which is something that you need, because there will be many demands of your time. There will be many conflicting work that you have to do. But as long as you know how to follow through, somehow the team would always deliver on their set objectives. So those were some of the things that I had gotten for the years. And then fast track to another couple of years, maybe another 4 years, there was, some issues with some of the banks. And then another merger was necessitated, which then the bank became Access Bank. And guess what? I had been part of the first integration team, even though I'd volunteered then. But because there were bosses who had seen me do a good job there, I'd asked that I come on board. So again, people will remember you for the things that you have done. So whenever you get an opportunity to do something, do very good work. So that came to bear as well. So by the time I did that, I was very sure. And that's why I would say that, somehow God wanted me. I knew there was that God element that I hadn't honed on. I was doing everything in my own capabilities, in my own capacity, but I knew there was something. So somehow there were places I would go into my house and it was like I would hear things clearly. And this was one of the times that I'd heard I needed to leave the bank. And I just thought, okay, but why? I was doing well. In fact, one of the EDs for the first time since I joined any organization was somebody that I knew. So if there was anything, even if there was a merger, and because I was, doing quite well, within the workspace, there wasn't going to be anything that affected me. But somehow I just knew that, this was time to leave. So I prayed about it. I had this mentor. So again, I want to talk about mentorship. And it's so funny because when Fumi came down, I did say to her that I was actually going to talk about mentorship. So I was very lucky at that point in my career that I found a mentor, but it was very opportunistic. It wasn't like I was seeking for a mentor, unlike when, I met Rev. I wasn't seeking for a mentor. And then even in this professional space as well, I have somebody who is a mentor within that space. And guess what mentors do? They just provide a shortcut to get to where you're going. So Phoebe said something, hard work is not going to take you. Hard work is not the only thing that's going to take you there. The God factor is the first thing. The second factor is for you to look for people who have done exactly what it is that you want to do. And there's the hard work, which I would call smart work, really, because you've already put the first two, ahead of it. So you're working smartly, because whenever you face a challenge, you either go to God or you go to God first, and then you go to your professional mentor who has done whatever it is that you've done. And then the other mentor is a spiritual mentor, but I think I'll talk about that towards the end. So, at this point, I said I was very clear. And that's, I think, is going to come into play when we do the visioning session. So I was very clear. What do I want to do? So if I wasn't going into banking, when I gone into my career, then I realized that actually maybe I should have done consulting in one of the big fours. Who are the big fours? KPMG, PwC. Is there anybody who knows who the big fours are here? Have you heard about the big fours? I'm happy there's no hand up, because you know what? Those are the things that you need to know. Who are the organizations that are going to help you get the skills that you need to play in that world? Because it's not all organizations. Yes, you want to work in a particular organization. You're just thinking about the pay that you're going to get. But trust me, there are organizations that are on your CV. And incidentally, we're talking about upgrading your CV as well today. So I think that's going to help, that you have on your CV that are going to put you forward, because those organizations are doing things that have made their names. So I'm not saying the big fours are the only ones. There are many tech companies that are coming up. There are many, in different sectors, whether even in the oil and gas space. It's not just the IOCs. The IOCs are the big oil companies that everybody wanted to work in. There are other local indigenous companies that are quite forward thinking that you can work with. So I said, since I didn't go into the big four, and I didn't go into the oil sector, what's easier for me now? With the big four, I'd gotten to a stage where if I was going to move there, I was going to take a cut, like a career cut, because with the big fours, they need you to learn certain skills for you to be able to, supervise the people under you. So I said, okay, I wanted to go to an oil company. And I did pray about it, which is where the role of the first mentor, who was a professional mentor, but her husband then became a spiritual mentor as well. And so we prayed about it, and it was like, oh, there was no leading for me to leave at the time. One day I just got a call from them, and it was like it was time for me to leave. And this is where it comes in, where when women says God is that factor that you need, because I would have left. Remember, I was eager to leave 6 months before, but it was like there was no, release in the spirit for me to go. So 6 months after, as soon as they said that, I was just sitting at my desk, and I hadn't even had a job, but I already had that release, and I knew that there was something in my mind, at the time, I thought it was just, my mind, because, I didn't know what I knew today, that was saying, it's time for you to move on. So I did, pray about it, like I said, and then I just put in my resignation. I was ready to leave. My last day, there's something called your terminal leave. Your terminal leave is not necessarily your exit date. So your terminal leave is your last working day that you've earned. So if you have leave days, you can commute your leave days as part of your notice period. So this was my terminal last day at work. And I sat down, and somebody just came to my desk and said, oh, I've been looking for you. I came here yesterday. I said, okay, what is it? And he said, oh, there's an opening I think that you should apply for. And I said, where is it? He said, Owando Holdings, and it's for the role of the head of human resources. And I said, okay, how is that even? Because at the time, this was a role. Imagine the person that I took over from was 8 years older than me. Obviously, 8 or 9 years work experience, even more. So I was like, that's not possible. But I didn't say this to him. So I just said, well, I'm not really looking well. I'll think about it, because I was going to run it by my mentors anyway. So I went home, of course, excited, told my husband that this is what had happened. And he was like, oh, well, I thought you needed a break. Anyway, long and short of it, I did the interview with 22 other applicants, and, I got the job. And this was something that I knew that God wanted me to do. Now, when I got into Ocean and all, I was very young, and, it was where I was leaving from as well. People were talking and saying, would she be able to do the job? And where I was going to as well, people were looking and thinking that she's too young to do the job, because I was 31 and the person who was taking the job was 38. So you can only imagine how intimidating. I was talking to 50-something-year-olds who were heads of department. I was shaking inside of me, but the confidence which I had in God, and just, trusted that, God that had put me there was going to equip me. But guess what? That's not enough. So what I did was, if I was going to do a role that I hadn't done before, I was going to equip myself. So for 3 months, I didn't speak to the likes of Fumi. I didn't speak to any of my friends. I buried myself studying, to get the skills that I needed to get the knowledge, to know about the sector that I just moved into. So apart from every day after work, I studied, and then even at the weekends as well. I had I'll go to church, and then that was it. And if I had midweek service, I did that. But other than that, I did study, to take the role. And then fast track to where I am at Argentil. There was now a disbandment within Ocean and Oil, and there was an opportunity at Argentil where I've now been made. Okay, so I moved to Argentil as the vice president for corporate services, meaning that I now had moved on from human resources. So when I started my career, I didn't mention that I started in consumer banking, moved to commercial banking, but somehow in me, I just knew that I was supposed to be making impact on the people at work. And somehow there was an opening in HR which I moved into. So my career has been mostly in human resources. And so by the time I got to Ocean and All, there was the opportunity to oversee human resources, legal, admin, and information technology. And afterwards, finance was added to that just because of, what had been the skills that had been displayed, and then just even that eagerness to take on more. So I was overseeing a multidisciplinary, units. So after being the vice president, I moved to Argentine on a lateral move, and then I became a senior vice president covering these areas. And in 2020, I was made a partner. And I'm saying all these things to let you know that is insurmountable, especially if you have God and you are ready to put the work in. Because this is an organization where the people there are investment bankers. And if you don't have the technical capabilities, they've never had a partner. If you look at all investment banks in Nigeria, there's nowhere that you have a partner. But if you distinguish yourself, especially as a child of God, and you really put your heart to whatever it is, there's nothing that you cannot attain. So I can tell you that I'm at the top of my career as a partner, and I was appointed director to be on the board of 2 companies effective March 8, 2022. So that's really my career story. Thank you very much. So I'm going to quickly go into the 2 topics that we're going to have today. The first one is the CV upgrade, which I think it's easier for us because we're going to be sitting in this setting. And then the second one is the vision crafting. Now, I understand that there's some sessions that have been taken on visions. I think from the biblical aspect, I think Pastor Fred did take something on vision. I'm not sure if they mentioned that Rev also spoke about vision, but I know that's something that she's passionate about, so she would have spoken to us about it during the course of this session. And then I understand that Brother Pastor Aki also took us through that. So we're just going, so the practical session is what we're going to have today. So it's going to be very interactive because I want to understand what a number of you already know with regards to what the vision and what you've learned from that theoretical session. But this is going to help us in just putting it down on paper. We do know as Christians what Habakkuk 2:2 says, which for me already says that you should make the vision plain. And there's no other way to make it plain more than writing it down and looking at it for motivation, for inspiration. So we just start with the CV, upgrading your CV. Who has can you move to the next slide, please? Who's controlling the... Okay. So the outline for the CV writing is just an introduction on what, and this is a word that is used by everybody. So that's why I said that let's take this first because it shouldn't be complicated. So you hear some people say, give me your resume, give me your CV. A CV is just something that talks about, one's course of life. And then, we're going to talk about that, and that's what the introduction is really. And then, what to include in your CV. When I started work, we were required to put our referees' names on our CVs. If a lot of you have done your CVs today, that's not there anymore. You were required to put your address. The truth is that you really don't have to. You can put the area that you live in, especially because of the security issues that you have now. If anybody picked up your CV, but I'm sure we still have CVs that have our addresses there. So those are sort of the things that we would look at in upgrading our CV. Then tips for writing a good CV, what the do's and don'ts are, and then the conclusion. So the first one, just to say that, the CV is, it's called the Curriculum Vitae, and it just essentially says the course of your life. So you don't necessarily have to be looking for a job. So Mrs. Fumi Faloye, for example, is a business person, but she should have a CV because she may just be, because of, the experience that she has and the knowledge and the skills that she's garnered to date, she may be required to sit on the board of a company. She may be required to put in an application somewhere. And what does the person who wants to receive it want to see? The person just wants to see the cause of that, your work life, and who you are as a person. We want to take a glance and know what it is without you coming to see us. So anything that would make you that person that they want is what goes into your CV. So today we're going to learn how to do it in a formal way that would elicit, that positive response that you're looking for the person that's looking at it. Do we understand that? Okay. So the key thing is that it's a short summary of your professional experience, the personal interests that you have. So sometimes you see, oh, I love to travel, I have my hobbies, those are the things that come up there. Then your educational background is very important because that's what we'll talk about, the technical skills that you have for those of us who haven't transitioned. So remember that I said I studied actuarial science and insurance, but that's not what I do today. So what's going to matter for me is the emphasis is not going to be on my education. The emphasis is going to be on my work experience. And then, alongside other information regarding your qualification. So again, I don't know that I mentioned that one of the things that has also helped me in the course of my career is building on the education I already had. So, of course, we all know you get a first degree, you get a second degree, and that's not the end. So you actually get qualifications in the spaces that you are in. So in IT, for example, there are many. If you're in IT security, there are certifications that you need to have. If you're coding, within there are many associations, and even for business people as well, there are many associations that you need to part of. There are many bodies that support building that knowledge on an ongoing basis. So there's one of my certifications that I have. I'm actually recertifying. You recertify every 3 years, and that's what they do in America. They make you, recertify 3 years because they want to ensure that you're building on the knowledge that you have. Some are just certifications that you have and is a one-time thing. So my certification from the UK and my certification from Nigeria don't require me to recertify. But as you go along, you need to build experience to do that. And these are some of the things that when they're promoting you, when they're considering you for a role, that they look at continuous learning. One of the guys who have been in the career group, I told them that they should go, and I want all of you to write it down, the World Economic Forum. If you just do World Economic Forum 2022 or 2025 skills that are required. So today, some of the skills that you already have are becoming obsolete. So you guys would have heard about artificial intelligence. You guys are hearing about data analytics. You guys are hearing about things that you haven't heard before. You're hearing about emotional intelligence. It sounds like fluff. Emotional intelligence is not fluff. It's what makes your ability to be able to recognize your own emotions, the emotions of the other person, and get a positive outcome in whatever you do within the workplace. So sometimes it's a combination of local knowledge. If you have wisdom from God, it helps you. But emotional intelligence is just something that makes you manage yourself, manage the person that you are dealing with in the workplace, and ensure that every conversation, every job that you do comes up in a positive way. Do you understand that? So you can just think that somebody is saying, oh, I should be nice to someone. That's not what emotional intelligence is. And it was never one of the skills that was required because it was considered a soft skill. Now it's number 5. So if you look at it, the reason why I said you should look at it is continuous learning is also one of those skills that you require that you're required to have. And that's why I kept writing these certifications. Now, after you've written the certifications that you are supposed to have, within the space that you operate in, you also need to have, at the senior level as a leader, you improve on, your ability to be able to manage others, to lead effectively, your ability to your ability to be able to influence, your ability to be able to network. So networking skills is something that you need to know, especially when you get to the top, because you're doing business development for your company, regardless of the space that you work in. So those are skills that you are going to be required to have. And if you don't continuously go into the classroom or, have sessions, whether it's an implant, somebody is coming to train you, these are things that you will fall short of, and you'll be wondering why some other people are ahead. And there's something I say to people when they come to me, when they want to start their career. I say, your career is what you make of it. Nobody is going to get your career to where you want it to be. And that's why this visioning sessions that we've taken is very important, because today you are going to look at that thing. So the person standing in front of you was a graduate trainee. You know what that is. We were sitting in a class and hearing about what the bank had done. And we're all looking and thinking, look at all these senior people that are talking to us. And today, fast track, this is where I am. So you are also going to be on this side, talking to people one day. And that's why you've taken this journey, because there are many things that you could have done with your time, but you've come here, and there are other people that are still wasting their time today. So there's no point coming here and not really making the most of it. So continuous learning is one of the things that you would do, and that's what makes you upgrade your CV from time to time. And so that when you send it to either a prospective employer or applying for a role on the board or applying for a job, when they see what you've done, assuming somebody even recommends you and the person doesn't really have an idea of what you've done, but when they see your CV, they're quite impressed that other than what you're even doing, there are other additional things that you can't do. So please move to the next slide. No, the next one, please. So the key thing to include in your CV, it has to have your contact information. So your name should be there, your phone number, and your email address. Those are the key things that need to be there. Then for your professional experience, so like I said, you don't have to put your house address, particularly because of security issues in the 21st century CV, 2022 specifically. So your professional experience should have your employment history. It should have your summary of work experience in chronological order. So in the order that you've done it. So how your career has progressed. So at the bottom is where you have what you did a long time ago, and at the top is where you have what you've done recently. And then number 3 is educational history, the list of institutions that you've attended from secondary school to date. With most CVs, some people always ask that you still, mention the secondary school, but I mean, again, I think from tertiary institution may be allowable, but again, people want to know if you actually went to secondary school. That's how we found out that there was somebody that was employed, but because he'd gone through many institutions, he actually didn't have a first degree, and we'd employed, and the organization had employed him before I got there, and we needed to make an application, and we realized he didn't go to university. So we all were, very shocked, because the assumption was if he had worked with about 6 brands and 2 of them being organizations out of the country, it was taken for granted. But by Nigerian law, you need to have a first degree and you need to do your NYSC. However, in the Western world, sometimes just with the skills that you've gotten, it's enough, and the experience that you have for you to get a job. So again, you have to be very careful in if you are in HR, for those who are in HR, to look out for things like that. So list of institution, the title of your degree, so BSc, Actuarial Science, MSc, MBA, those are the sort of things that you need to put there. That's the title of your degree, and then the year of graduation. So people want to know when did you become an expert in this space? So if you say that you are a chartered accountant, when did you become a chartered accountant? And it's not because because if you just became a chartered and you were supposed to have been chartered years ago, you think that you're shooting yourself in the foot. No, because when you come into a job, the expectation is that your level of expertise depends on how long you've had that certification. And so you want to be upfront and honest with that. So whether it's your certification or your degree, you need to put the year. And then, so you want to put your list of skills developed through your career. So I've mentioned some skills in the course of my conversation, networking skills. It depends. And you need to, let me say this at this point, with your CV, every time you're applying for a job, so they're groups of jobs that are quite similar. And they're groups of jobs that you can apply for just by virtue of the skills that you've gotten. So from time to time, you need to know what the sector is. You need to know what the requirements of the job is so that you can tweak the skill set that you're putting forward. So for example, if you are applying for a HR role, good organizational skills, good your ability and knowledge of knowing the labor law, good follow-through skills, your knowledge of use of the Microsoft suites, because you're going to be using Excel, PowerPoint, and Microsoft Word, because you're going to be writing a lot, you're going to be doing a lot of presentations, stuff like that. So your ability to do that. Now you're moving to another job which you have some skills for, which you are applying for, and you've been in recent years, because I've sort of transitioned. So because I oversee IT, there are a few things that I have now learnt in IT, and because my husband now does IT as well, there are skills that I've gotten. So in that, in putting your CV together, you would update it with the things that you've done recently, because you know that this job requires you to have a significant knowledge of IT. I hope we get that. So from time to time, you're going to be tweaking your CV. You can't use one CV to apply for all jobs. And then the next one, so the list of skills developed through your career, emphasis on relevant skill to the job being applied for, which is what I just explained. So you have to ensure that it's relevant. If there's something that is there, if there are like 3 skills that you feel that this new job that you want to apply for is going to hinder it, then you want to put those ones away and put the skills that you think would be more appropriate. And then the awards and achievements that you've had. So list of the awards received, year received, and the name of the organization. So if you received an award, whether it's even an award that you got at your end of year party or essential, because you get awards that say that you are very inquisitive and knowledgeable. You get awards that say that you're a team player. I mean, you can't get an award from an organization if you're not deserving of it. And if somebody wants to employ you and they want you to be a good team player, they want to see that one organization has actually done that for you. So that's another advantage for you to put it. So if you've not done that before and you've ever had an award within, an organized group, I think you should actually put it there. And then, so let's just move into the tips that gives us additional insights as to how to write a good CV. So, choosing the right type of font and size is very important. There are some fonts that you use and the size of font that is actually, how they always say that you can't write in capital letters. Have we heard that before? Has anyone heard that before? Why? It seems like you are screaming. Thank you very much. So it seems like you are shouting. That's why you can't write in capital letters. So you can't write in capital letters, and then your font size as well. You may think, oh, I've done a big font size so that they can. But remember that if you do a big font size, you will have a bulky CV. So the key ones, I would say Arial, Avena, Calibri. Some of these we have seen. I know that Arial and Calibri are very good fonts that people actually use within the professional space. There's Avena, there's Helvetica, there's Lato, Roboto, Proxima Novo, Sans Serif, and then the Vedana. Don't worry, these slides are going to be given to everyone who is attending this program, but try and write Arial and Calibri. I have used in the course of and then more recently I use Garamond, but that's only because, so again, let me say this to you. Organizations choose the format in which they like their emails written, just so that anybody who writes out of the organization writes in the exact same way. So we use Garamount 12, but it's not on this list because this is a list that universally everybody says that, is a good font. Now, in terms of the font size, which is what we do as well, is between 11 and 12. So any of this font size is what you should use on your CV. Then we know about margins. Margins are the gaps that you have between lines, really. So a good rule of thumb is to keep your margins between 0.5 and 1 inch. 0.5 and 1 inch. And why would you do 0.5? If, for example, you've written and you don't want your CV to be more than 2 pages and it's moved to, and you've been using 1 inch and it's moved to the third one, you probably want to use 0.5 to make it concise and put it in one document, and it will still look professional. This allows for easy reading to the person who is in and understanding any distractions while going through the CV, because the honest truth is that your CV is what goes before you. So you want to ensure that it gets read, it's appealing, it has the right skills, and it will get you that job. At least it will get you a foot in the door for you to come and have an interview. So let's move very quickly. You have to effectively utilize your space. So you don't want to do a lengthy CV. So you follow these steps in doing your CV. You use bullet points and emphasize the skills and experiences of particular relevance to the role. I think we already talked about that, the skills and the relevant experience. So it's not all experiences that you are going to put on your CV. It's dependent on the role that you are applying for. Then you use bold sections for your headers to distinguish the content. So bold sections are what says what your role is. So you want to highlight that in role. So they know that in 2014, I was partner here. In 20 this, I was HR officer. In whatever, I was marketing director within it. And those are the ones that you put in bold. Every other thing is not bold. Then in addition to section headers, making important words such as the name and the job titles to set them apart. I think I already took that with the bold. Then remove irrelevant information. Only put the ones that are solely relevant, and which is essentially your experience and your educational background alongside the qualifications that I already said that to you earlier. So proofread. And this is going to be helpful to you, not just for your CV. If information is not confidential, and even when it is, if you're a member of a team, if you have a team member who is privy to the work that is being done, please ask for a second eyes to read your work, because it helps. The errors that you make with your work. I mean, people have sent text messages that they wanted to write hadn't, and they wrote had, and it caused a problem. We all know that. That's the same way you write some things, you don't catch it, and then it becomes an issue. So your spelling, your grammar, I mean, we're all getting better. English is not our first language. No, I always tell people, English is not my first language. So if I make any error, please, pardon me. So again, but we'll get better, because you have to ensure that, it's a lingua franca, and the truth is that you have to communicate effectively with the language that you speak in your organization, and when you write it down as well. So good communication skills is one skill that everybody in this room needs. And there is no skill that you have that you are not going to put work in. The way we spoke 10 years ago is not the way we're speaking now. So I did not speak like this 10 years ago because there were words that I wasn't familiar with, and I would be looking for the words only because my vocabulary was, not as elaborate as it is today. So your grammar is very important, your spelling, the arrangement of the words. So you want somebody else who is better. Than you is always preferable to say, oh, if I do something and I say, Rev, what do you think about this? Or somebody that is in your workspace that you see as a more experienced person to help you look at it and say, you may want to share with a trusted friend. Okay, fantastic. So we just have just a few minutes. I think we will wrap up on this. Just have a few more minutes on the CV writing. So so you can get somebody with fresh eyes to look at it. I guess that's the point on that. So do's and don'ts of a good CV. So use simple and direct statements with easy to understand terms when describing skills and experience. So don't write, I'm not going to spend time on it because we don't really have that much time. I think we just have about 3 minutes left in this segment. But I think the key thing is don't use ambiguous statements like director of something, when you know that your role is really you can't be a director after 3 years work experience. So you see those things. Americans generally like big titles because they like big things. If you go to America, you see big roads, you see, everything. The houses are very big, unlike when, in the UK where things are marketed. So the truth is that the titles are quite elaborate, and you don't want to put things like that in your CV. And then also when you write, make sure it's simple. You don't want to say something like, I achieved 25% revenue in 2022, and then you now say, I was able to get money from the biggest customer in, you know what I mean? So just look for the right terms and put it there. Include the name, email address, telephone. So some of these things we've talked about, but I think it's just, a recap. List of relevant experiences, your accomplishment. Include a short description of what your organization. So I think we haven't talked about this. What your organization does. So you want to say, for example, where I work, we're an investment bank and we're into corporate finance, project finance, M&A, and we're in the oil and gas, sector. We do midstream, upstream, downstream, and then in the power sector as well, generation, distribution. So you just describe, this is what my organization does, so that they know exactly if that experience is going to come to bear when you come to their own organization, and that's all they need to know. And that is if you are applying for a job, particularly that is in the same sector as yours. So you don't have to put that much information. Just simple information about who your company is fine. But if you're going into a sector that is in the same niche as your own sector, it's important that you put the sector that you in and the emphasis on the areas that you focus on. So educational qualifications, then curate a summary of who you are, yourself. Apply to jobs that are fully or closely qualified. So you don't have to, the easier ones are the ones that you're fully qualified for. But sometimes there's some organizations that give you the opportunity to come into a role and still have some learnings to do. Make sure your CV is concise. Proofread, again, like I said, name on your CV properly, and always send a PDF document. So why do you send a PDF document? So that nobody is going to, I'm not going to wait for anybody to answer, so that nobody is able to tweak your CV. So you don't want to send your CV in Word. You have to send it in PDF. No personal information like your grade, your height, your weight, marital status, and your exact address, like I mentioned earlier. Avoid the use of first name, person pronoun. So you want to say we, because the organization, because you never worked in isolation, you worked with a team. So the team did this for your own personal achievement. You want to say achieved. You don't even want to say I. You just say achieved revenue of XXX. I'll be happy to take some questions, after, but we need to move to the vision crafting session. And then passive sentences that almost seems like you were not the one who did it. I don't have an example off the top of my head. No profile pictures. So don't send your picture ahead. Don't put your picture in your CV. No need to include a reference section. And then no abbreviations, no acronyms as well, except the very popular, also, for example, with your certification. But if you have room in your CV, you want to spell out what that certification is. Avoid chattering your resume with non-essential information, which we already talked about. So, like I said, we're going to share the CV, this deck, and it has a good template. So what I've done is put a good template of a CV that you can actually adopt and use. And that's the good CV template that I've put there. There are many of them, but I find this very, clean, and one that would essentially just help with the putting the years of experience on this side, the roles, etc. So each point, just in conclusion, each point on your CV should consider the person who receives it, the recruiter, that you are the best person for the role. So make sure your CV is about them, about you, not about you. Name the company and curate the skills and positions that you've been offered. The bonus is always to put a cover letter. So, everything that you've said in your CV is fine, but sometimes you want to put a cover letter to just say that additional things that you think would make them, make them see the passion with which, or the desire to really want that role. But that would be an added advantage. Some people remove the bonus letters when you send it to them, but you may be surprised that sometimes I do read, when I reviewed CVs, I do read cover letters, and that would be a consideration for taking on someone's CV. No false information. If the information is not 100% true, and you can't defend it if you are asked. So some people put qualification that they've not. So if you're even going to get it in 3 weeks, you can't put it in your CV. You can only put in your CV when you've gotten that certification. So thanks, everyone. We're done with the CV writing segment. So Debbie, please, just a minute. So I think the vision crafting one, I think are they going to rearrange the boards, the cardboards? Okay, you're giving it to them now. Okay. So while we're sharing that, anyone that has a question? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, ma. I want to ask, does the CV and procedure include a foreign pattern of CV, or just locally in Nigeria?
Oh, I mean,
internationally, yes.
Yes, it does. Did you mean the sample of the CV,
yes,
or do you mean that what has been taught in general?
The sample of the CV.
The sample of the CV. It does. Yes. It does. Have you seen the sample of this CV? Have you seen it already? Okay, so the sample has everything that we've talked about, and everything I've taught you is global standard in terms of how a CV should be written. So this CV has everything that I said it should include. So you really don't have to use this template, but it does apply globally. But you see, the thing about roles globally as well is that you need to tweak it a lot to read the role that you're applying for, because you're giving opportunities to apply for roles that you may not necessarily be fully qualified. Unlike in Nigeria, it's almost like if you have not done something, you can't be taken in that role. Do you see what I mean? So that's where, you may need to do some tweaking. But standard is your experience, your certification, your background, the years that you got qualified for them, and your achievements. So yes, he has a question.
Thank you so much, Ma. I wanted to ask for CV inclusion. There are some programs, some Christian programs you run. For instance, in Oak House, we do run the Berea Academy. So it's a Christian program. Is there a space, or how do you include that in your CV? Is it acceptable?
Is it relevant to the job that you're applying for?
It will be a consideration.
How? So you're not applying for a job. I don't know. In Berea Academy, they taught you about spiritual things. So how does that come into the secular world? What are the things that you've learned there? So if in the Berea Academy, for example, in going through that program, there were skills that you got apart from the spiritual knowledge, because you know you're applying for a job in a workplace that does not require to do anything spiritual. I don't know if you get what I mean. You, as a person in the workplace, as a Christian, is supposed to bring other people to the saving knowledge of Christ. We understand that. But on the job, while doing the job itself, you understand, in your interactions, you are meant to get people to Christ by your behavior, by preaching to them when you get the opportunity. But the job that you have to do does not require you to be a Christian or be a Muslim or anything. So that would be a relevant information to put on your CV. Except apart from what you're taught on the spiritual, about, building for your spiritual growth and understanding, there's something else that you got from it. Then if there's a skill that you think applies to that job that so for example, if you're applying to a Christian-based organization, that may be relevant because they need somebody with that sort of character or somebody who's gone through that sort of training to come into the organization. Because if I'm a faith-based organization, and I also want to know what your faith is and what your understanding of it is. Thank you.
Okay. We have some questions online.
Okay.
All right. So somebody says, how do you keep up? How to remain relevant, especially in this new age? She said, like, there are things you learn in school, and by the time you're out, they become obsolete, or you find out that not everyone needs that profession anymore. So, just reading through. So it might be tiresome to always.
Is that the same question, or can I answer that one first?
Okay.
Is that
the person is just giving a description, and then the question comes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it might be tiresome having to always look over your shoulder for downsizing and all. So how do I keep up? Okay, that's the first question. And then number two, would you say there's one thing or a specific thing that can make your CV stand out? So 2 questions.
Okay. So I'll try and take the first question first, which is, and the person gave a background about things moving, fast, and then your course becoming obsolete. I would say that the first thing is that a lot of the things that we read, actually, I must say, in Nigerian universities, sometimes we're still using curriculums that do not really take into consideration what's happening in the world of work today. And a lot of people are trying to bridge that gap. There's a proposal that I reviewed yesterday from a group called STEMmets, and they're doing something with another body called the STEAM, and it's called the STEAM Fun Fest. Now, what is really what they're trying to do? What they're trying to do is equip children between the ages of 6 and 13. So essentially children who are in primary school up to early secondary school with skills that are going to prepare them for they're distracted. It's important for them to hear this. Miss Debbie, it's important for them to hear this. This question is very important. So a lot of people are going to be, so whether it's the universities or even just the ability for us to have structured formal training. So please give a round of applause to Oak House, because that's exactly what it is that we're trying to do. The universities, and I mean, for example, ASU is on strike. Let's even leave the fact that you do it and then it becomes obsolete. What about the fact that they're not even doing it effectively? You come now, they teach you hurriedly, and then you need to write your exams and you're out of school. So whichever way, you're not going to be equipped. Now, what that STEAM is doing is, because it's science, technology, engineering, and maths are, the people who have studied or who have interest in it, they're trying to help them using things like robotics, using things like coding, to help them to develop the skills. Now, a lot of schools that are forward thinking, but they have to be fee-paying schools, right? They have to be schools that their school fees are high for them to be able to put it as part of their curriculum. So unfortunately, it lies in your hands. And that's why I told you to write down the skills that are required. I hope this person online is listening. You have to list those skills. Those are the skills that are going to be relevant as at 2025. So forget the knowledge that you're even getting in school today. We're even saying that the skills that even in the workplace people have, if it's not a forward-thinking organization, you're going to find out that you're not going to get the skills that you really require for the future, because the world of work is changing. Now, COVID came and fast-tracked that, with people even being able to work from home. So even as a supervisor, your ability to be able to manage people online, virtually, is a new skill that never existed. So you have to have that interest in knowing what the skills that are relevant. And that's why you have to connect yourself to groups, because the country is not going to do it for you. So you have to do it for yourself in knowing what those skills that are relevant for today are. Now, in terms of the second question on what's the question again? On whether, stand out. So, I mean, again, what makes your CV stand out is your added advantage. Because the first thing is, everybody has, a first degree. Not everybody has a second degree. Not everybody has a certification. Everybody has a first degree. Not everybody has a first class. Not everybody has a 2-1. Most people have 2-2. So setting yourself apart is being at the top of your game. So if you have a first degree, did you have a first class? Because that's the first person I'm going to shortlist on the list. Did you have a 2-1? That's the next set of people. If you had a 2-2, you are not setting yourself apart. If you have a third class, you have no leg in the door. Let's move to the masters. In the masters that you did, is it relevant for the work that you are applying for? That's how you set yourself apart. The additional certifications that you are getting, are they in line with the job that you want to apply for? That's how you set yourself apart. So I hope I've answered the question. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? So we can start can you just share the screen on the vision? If you know, I'm going to send you the link for the STEM program. So if you know anyone between the ages, young children between the ages of 6 and 13, it's going to take place in VI, and it's a big one, and they're going to be learning robotics and a few other things. And from there, some of them will be chosen to now, be able to build on those skills. So if you know anybody between the ages of 6 and 13 who wants to develop, their skills in science, technology, engineering, math, or that they just have the aptitude, which means they have the ability for these things. There's some people that don't necessarily, but they know how to walk around a phone, how to walk around a computer, things like that, or maybe they will be good with coding. Please, I'll send the link to Mrs. Debbie so that she can share it with you. Those children can attend because these are people just like the program that Oak House is doing for us here that are looking to bridge this gap. And the founder as well is a Christian, and she's just looking to see how can I also give back to the community that we're in. So unfortunately, the community has, I don't want to use the word fail because we don't talk about the government as Christians because God has put them there. But the truth is that things are not where it needs to be. So you have to sort of hold your own career and your life in your hands by the grace of God.
Okay, so we have a question here from the previous session.
Okay.
Okay, so someone said, so you said we should meet people who are in the same field as we are,
Yes.
or what we want to do. But then we should meet them when we start something and not when we are thinking about it. My question is, what if I know what I want to do?
Hold on, please. Debbie, should we not take the session? Okay. Right. Can we take that question after?
Okay.
Yes. And the person can send it because we need to start this session now. Okay. So I want somebody to tell me what day and Tanda, what's his name? Hi, sorry, I forgot. What's your name again? Tado. I said Tanda. Sorry. Tado, please, can you summarize for the house what, the vision the vision session that you had with Mr. King, what you were required to do, and you don't have to say everything if you don't remember. Maybe Precious would be able to help us as well. Were you at that session? Okay.
Okay, so for me, one of my takeaway from the Mr. Pastor Akin's session, he talked about four acronyms.
Okay.
SMA. Okay, no, 5. Okay, so he said for vision or goal setting, he talked about SMART.
Okay.
So SMART, he talked about setting goals.
What's SMART?
Okay, so SMART is just an acronym for S, specific. Talking about goal setting, your goal must be very specific. Okay, for many people, they set goals and the goals are very vague. Okay, and then that's really not going to be very practical trying to actualize or to pursue them.
What's M?
Okay, so M, it must be measurable.
Okay.
A, achievable.
What is measurable? What is something being measured? What do you mean by measurable?
Okay, how I understood this was measurable. For example, I want to achieve this from so time to so time. Okay, for example, say I want to lose weight. Okay, somebody who has weight loss in mind. Okay, so measurable would be something like, okay,
you want to lose weight within a certain time.
Yes.
And a
XYZ,
certain kg.
Yeah, XYZ
okay.
time.
A, what does A mean?
Okay, so A, achievable.
Okay.
Is this achievable? Is this something you can work with? Okay, and then R.
Is it an impossible within your own power? Forget the supernatural power that will come. But if I say, for example, a certain age now, and I say, without having any skills, without having any job, I want to get 1 billion in 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, is that achievable? Even as an organization, depends on where you are. You know, okay, R.
Okay, then R, realistic.
Okay.
Okay, and then T, timely, time bound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, yes,
and T is
those
time
were-
bound.
yeah.
So, and what else did he talk about? Let me give somebody else. Precious, please tell me.
Okay.
I need to understand, before we go into the crafting of the vision, I need to understand what it is that we learned here.
Okay, so he taught us practical ways you can, craft your vision.
Okay.
And he said, for you to craft a vision, it has to be specific and practical. He gave us examples of his own vision crafting. So he has different segments. He has financial vision. He has spiritual vision. He has another one for his job. And like Tedo explained, it must be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So for example, if his financial vision, for example, was to make maybe 200,000 naira or 2 million rather extra apart from what he was earning. So he now wrote it by December 31st, I want to have been making, I am making 2 million naira, and this is what I'm doing to make such amount of money. So he listed the goals down, not the goals, the method, the ways he's going to achieve the actions, yes, the action plans, the way he's going to achieve the 2 million naira. And the thing is, at the end of each month, he checks if he's close to his goal or if he's getting closer to his goal. So at the end of the date he put, let's say he put it in 31st of December, at the end of 31st of December, he'll do an audit to check if he achieved the goal. So he just gave really practical steps on ways on how you can craft your goals and how you can audit yourself regularly to make sure you're close to your vision.
Okay, so today, if you went that far, so what we're going to be doing today, if we already have those action points and the practical ways, is how we're just going to be putting it on a vision board. So that's essentially what we're doing. So there'll be no need to go into what vision, crafting is. But just to say that, this is a future plan that you have. And like they've said, life is about goals. So tomorrow you want to become, you want to get to the next role in your job. Tomorrow you want to become you want to transition from where you are, say in HR to finance. Tomorrow you want to, it's a goal. Tomorrow you want to be married. You understand? So those are the things that we're going to put on. Tomorrow you want to, achieve a certain amount of money on X number of days. Now, what is the vision crafting going to help you do? So, you have these desired goals. Like I said, life is a collection of goals that you have. So there are always goals, whether it's in the spiritual space, whether it's in the secular space, whether it's in your personal space, whether it's your career or your business, there are always goals that you have. And that's what keeps you going. But there's something that Ms. Fumi said. She said that doing, and let me just leave that word there, is where the problem is. So today we're going to do all this, but if you don't put it up and execute. So I always say to people, idea generation is good. There are a lot of people that have ideas that are so fertile. Their minds are so fertile, they come up with ideas, but they never follow through in executing on those ideas. Now, somebody has now thought about it, that putting something up, letting something be front and center in your life, letting something be top of mind is something that's going to help you achieve it. How? You wake up in the morning, you look, it's staring you in the face. Your conscience is pricking you. How far am I away from this thing? It's either doing that to you, or it's also making you look at the future, inspiring you, motivating you for the person that has started the journey to say, that is where I'm going to be. So, Tato, for example, is in the IT space, and he knows what he wants to do. What he also studies, he still has a passion for that. So he's going to put a mix of both to say, actually, my psychology, I still want to do something in this space, but I'm going to go to it in 5 years because he's discussed those things with me, and that's why I know them. So there's nobody who has discussed those things. I am passionate about what I do, and that's why Tato, I may not remember his name, but I remember what he wants to do with his life, because I'm also passionate about imparting knowledge. I'm passionate about getting people's career to where they want to get it to, and I help them do that. And it's important to me to know when people speak to me what it is that they're going. So every time I write out something, every time I set my vision, I always put it there to help youth in getting to, and that's why I'm happy to be part of this program as well. But if I don't put it as front and center, I would just find out that everything else that are legitimate would take my time. Meanwhile, my goal to actually, help 50 young people to get their careers to the next level would have fallen off. So I want you to understand what it is that we're doing today. So it's just one that would inspire you, would motivate you, and it will, help you with direction, for the future, is what the vision crafting is going to, while you're paying attention to the present. So you are where you are today. What are those actionable steps? Which is what she said. And Pastor Aki, for those of you who were in the class, is saying, what is the action that you need to do? What are the things? Because there'll be barriers. I'm sure he taught you about, the obstacles. I'm sure he taught you about the obstacles that will be in the way. And what are obstacles? Obstacles are not necessarily problems. Obstacle may be Precious needing to write an exam. And that's the exam that's going to take her to the next level, because that's what's going to consider her for a promotion. So if you say that you want to become head of marketing and you don't have, I don't know what that body is or the certification and all that, to distinguish yourself from the other people that are also eligible to apply for the role, how have you set yourself? That's an obstacle, because an obstacle is something that is in the way that you need to cross. So those are some of the things that we're going to need to highlight today, to say, what is that goal? And it doesn't have to be one goal. What are the obstacles that are in the way? And what are the action points that we're going to put down that will get us to that goal? So the first thing is in setting the goal, which is, your vision. You break down your vision into goals that you need to take. Now, how are you going to get to the goal? There are obstacles that are going to be in the way. What are those obstacles? And once you identify them, what are the action points that you need to take? And when you take that action point, when do you think realistically? So, for example, I want to be a chartered accountant. Now they write ACCA 4 times a year. Before, it just used to be 1 diet. Later, it became 2 diets. and now it's 4 diets, even with ICANN. So I know that if I want to become a chartered accountant and I'm studying the way I need to study, by the end of my 4th diet, if I write them in quick successions, or I just give an allowance of a probability of I may not be able to write one because I may be busy with work, I say by 1st quarter next year, I should already be a chartered accountant. Do you see what I mean? So those are goals that you would have. And that's the way I want you to think. What are the goals? You started this program. What are the goals? And I'm sure that day you wrote down some of the visions that you had. So I'm going to keep going round, but I just wanted to set the preamble for the session that we're going to have now. So it's very clear. What you're going to have on this board is the goals that you're looking to achieve. The preambles and, the obstacles that would be in the way. And obstacles, like I said, are no problem. And there could be challenges, like, even just the finance is an obstacle. But you now have to put the action point on how you get the finance, the action point on how you pass the exams, the action point. So if I'm going to pass exams, it means that, remember that I said that during my career, when I knew that I wanted to build up on my knowledge, I set 3 months aside, not going out, not doing anything, coming back after work and studying. That's a time that I had to invest for me to get to the goal. Do you understand? So we'll put the action point and then we will put the timelines for when we get to the goal. And one of the reasons why we have the magazines and the rest of it is that we're very visual as human beings. When you write a lot, sometimes it bores you. Sometimes you can't even see it when you wake up. But when you have pictures of something that reminds you of where you want to be. And the thing about vision is that you're allowed to dream. I dreamed about, if I tell you, in fact, I can't share where I'm going with you people because it may scare some of you. So the truth is that there's certain goals that we have. It may sound like a big thing, but the truth is that you will get there if you put it front and center. Where I am today was something I dreamt about. And so having a front, and I've always written things. I may not have known what vision boards were, but I always had a book, and people will say, I learned this thing from you, but you have to make anything, anywhere that you want to go, you have to make it the front and center of your life. So whatever the goals are, I believe that some of us you must have spiritual goals as well, because that is the first thing that helps you in achieving every other goal in life. Now, I don't know whether, the conveners, Ms. Debbie is not here, have this specifically for our career and business goals, but I will clarify from them before we start the session. Precious, can you help me clarify that that's what we're doing? And so you name all those goals already. Before you put them on the cardboard, already write those 4 things that I told you. Know what the goals is. Identify what the obstacles are. What are your action points? When is the timeline for the goals? And in crafting this vision, carry on writing. You ask yourself why you want it. So I guess that starts from the beginning. Why do you want everything? So I understand is everything that you are going to be writing on. So your spiritual goal, your personal goal, your career and your business goals are what you're going to be writing in this document. So, but one thing that you need to ask yourself, is this something that you want or what others expect of you? Remember when the speaker before me spoke, she said that her father wanted her to be a doctor. So this vision, is it because Miss Peju has already said, oh, she's a HR person, so that's why? No. What do you really want for your own life? Because that's what is going to drive you. What has God been speaking to you about? What has the Holy Spirit really impressed in your heart? Do you understand? For you to do that you need to. So it's not about what, Miss Debbie has already said to you. It is what it is that you think. And then when it comes to your career, after going through all this session, because we're rounding off, I think next week, you must already at least have an idea of what career path you want to be on. So I guess that will help with some of the goals that you want to set today. So give yourself permission to dream. Like I said, I've had dreams of when I was young, just dreaming about, when I will become this Oga, not to be doing shakara with the Oga, but today for me to also be able to just supervise people and not do work at the level where I did it, and impacting people's lives and being able to stand here and speak. And then just let your mind wander. So be creative about the goals that you want to leave, and then be specific about it. We already talked about SMART goals. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and then time bound. So that's what SMART means. And so those are the things that you need to ensure that you have. But being specific about what you want is very important. So don't put something that is ambiguous. And that's what I'm going to be going around looking at to see. So some of the things that will also help you with building this vision and the things that you want to do, what are your own core values? So for me, my core values is what has driven I would say that, there are few things that really drive me. That professional excellence is a core value for me. And so I want to excel, and I want to make others also excel. So, that value is going to be a part of everything that I do in my life. Just living a life of excellence. Am I going to attain excellence at all times? Will I fall on the way? No, but it's a core value that I have, that in everything that I do, I must do it well. And so, that would help you in saying, look, if I want to impart knowledge in others, and I have to do it in an excellent way. And I have to have a goal, towards that. If you look at your values as well, say, for example, I'm looking at some professional values, maybe passion in doing something, and there's a space that you have that passion in. It would help you get what your goal, it will help you set your goal. I don't know if I'm making any sense saying this. I'm finding it difficult explaining it. But if you have certain core values that you have already imbibed, when you are setting your goals, when you are thinking about the vision that you have, is most likely to align with some of those passions that you already have, some of those values that you have already imbibed. So in writing what your goals, especially for those who are not clear. So I'm just talking about when someone is just like, I'm blank on writing my goals. The good place to start is, what makes you tick? What is inside of you that just makes you tick? So from a professional angle, I've already told you my own, that, that striving for excellence is something that I want to do. And so in every goal that I want to set, you understand, I feel like that would be part of it. And in helping other people as well, that would be part of it. What are your interests? It will help you in setting your goals as well. Do you like to, organize things? I don't know what it is. So it's very difficult for me to, I guess as I go around, I'm going to ask the questions. So if you have interest, what you enjoy doing most sometimes can help you. And I'm speaking because some people are already in the workplace. So it's very clear to them what their goals are. Some people are already, they're here and they're already married. I don't know whether they're part of the coordinating team, or okay, so maybe those ones are part of the coordinating, because Precious is a part of the program. I think she's married, so does she have a goal in that space? And maybe because she's married, she likes children and she wants to help in the children's department. Or for example, I think you sing, you're actually in the choir, aren't you? So that's an interest that you have. So what's your goal in that space? I hope that example has helped. And in the areas of focus in life, and the reason why the categories of your life that always need your attention is important for you to list it. So before you put it on the cardboard, is because these are areas that would demand for your time when you're trying to achieve these goals. So if your family, for example, we're all from different families. There are families that are going to demand your time. There are families that are going to demand your money. There are families that, and it may not be the same for me. It may not be the same for the next person. You know, what's your area of focus? Is it, do you go and play football a lot such that it eats into your time? You know, what's that area in life that always needs your attention? Do you have children that are very needy and you need to, you know, cater for them, you know, a lot? So what are you going to do with that when you are, or is it social media? What's going to be the distraction for you? You have to put that down. Then your strengths, the things that you're naturally good at is always a good place to start for those of you that are not clear on what your career is. So, for example, when I knew that, I didn't tell you that I had a second stint at doing business. I was working and nothing was wrong, but I just thought maybe I could venture into doing business. So I did children entertainment for about 3 to 4 years. But when I couldn't combine it with work, I had to just put that aside. So I had the big inflatables that people would use and rent. So I did the rental arm of that. And I also did the coordinating the event because I had good organizational skills. So is that something that you would also, that you have that would help you? So if I want to go into a job now, do I want to do a job that requires me planning? Do you understand? Helping with planning, organizing, coordinating, project management, you know, things like that, because they're the same skills that are required in both. So that would help you in knowing what path you're going on and what the sort of goals that you're going to set. Yeah, and the skills that you already have now for those of us who are already in the profession. So you need to gather your thoughts now. I've said all these things so that it helps you in stimulating your minds as to what you're going to be putting down. So, and then you will now display these images. So sometimes, I mean, with us going virtual, these boards were things that you put on your wall, which still helps because if you have your space, it's something, but some of us share spaces. Some of these boards can be virtual. It can even be your screen, your background screen. You know, when you take a picture, you do this board now, you take a picture. Every time you zoom into it, you look at it and say, where am I? This is where I want to be. A picture of this man in this suit, or in, you know, as an engineer, or as a tech guy, or, you know, as this, or as Mark Zuckerberg, or something, you know, something that just inspires you to get to what it is based on, you know, what I've said would help you in getting what these goals should be, or even with what you're doing now that already helps you in setting the goals. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create the boards now. Okay. So the next facilitator is here, but while we are doing that, you're just going to write, you know, whilst the person is being introduced, write that, and then before the end of the session as well, we'll do it. So I thought this was the last segment. So the magazines, we're going to go around. There are things in there that you may find that would be helpful for you, and you will cut out things from there and paste it if relevant. So you don't have to use the magazines entirely. But I'm going to wait for Debbie. So I think there was a mix-up there. There's a facilitator that is coming up now. I thought this was our session to conclude that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Peju. God bless you. Thank you. It's been a very enlightening session. So Peju Aluko took 2 courses. She took vision crafting, and then she also took CV writing. She talked a lot. It's something you need to practically do. Sit down, review your resume and all that. She did a very good job. Thank you so much, Peju. That was great. 2 sessions combined in one. So once we're done with the next speaker, at the end of the session, you'll be able to do your vision crafting, get your magazines, get your cardboards, cut them, and put them up, and then put your vision board where everybody can see you. But we're going to take the next facilitator all the way from Bristol in UK. This is about 8 a.m. my time. That's where am I? I'm in Maryland. 8 a.m. my time. That should be about 12 midnight your time. And so the person logging from UK is, I think, about your time frame. I hope you're not too tired. Don't worry. After the sessions, you'll have a tea break and all. So thank you for being patient and following through the courses. But I'm sure the courses have been very interesting so far. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing the next speaker. He's talked to us before. His name is Ndubisi Aja. I think it was my very first mentee. As he's been a youth pastor in Nigeria before he went to the UK, studied in University of Portsmouth, made a first class in computer science. He's worked in several IT companies. Right now, he works for HP in the UK. HP, you know HP, yeah. So he works for HP in the UK. I've spoken to us before. He's going to be speaking to us now on discipline, very vital. Because no matter what it is that you've learned, if you do not have discipline, it's going to be an issue. So I'm going to introduce him to speak to us today. And then after his session, we're going to have the interactive session. Okay, with your question, then we're going to take the vision crafting. Okay, NWC, you're on now.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, by the way, that's my younger brother.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can all hear me, beautiful people. It's great to talk to you again.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay. Well, I'll try and multitask. Typically, I normally disable my webcam for security reasons because, you know, hackers can turn these things on without you knowing and start spying on you. So, word of advice, this is free IT. This is free IT advice. Before I get into my session, always disable your webcams when you're not making use of them, because people like me can write code to turn it on without you knowing, and we can start recording you without you knowing. And that is how a lot of scrupulous people make money. They blackmail you. So that's why my camera is normally switched off by default. But what I will do while I'm talking is I will try and enable it so that we can see myself. So I'll do that while I am talking. I will multitask. But I believe I sent my presentation to the team, so perhaps they can put it up, or I can share it myself and we can take it from there. Because what we have to show is more important than my beautiful face. All right, let me share my screen. All right, or can the IT folks present?
Yeah, I think they can present. We have your slides, so it's been projected now. You projected in a few minutes.
All right, because we still have you, Rev, on the screen.
Okay, they're going to switch me and switch you back on.
Amazing. I hope everyone is doing great. I heard the last couple of minutes of the last presentation, and I was just saying, wow, if this is what you guys have been listening to in the past X number of days or weeks, then I am 100% certain that this time next year, you're not going to be the same person you are. If you can just utilize literally 20% of what you've heard, that is just going to take you to the next level. Because, you know, there's a saying we say in computing, and I'm sure you've heard it before: garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you put into a computer, whatever you put into a system is what it's going to give you. There is nothing there is no output a machine can give to you that is not based on an input. So there is no level of productivity that you can produce without the right level of inputs into your system, whether it is physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, etc. The input determines the output. So I'm so impressed with the kind of stuff you're listening to. And honestly, I hope you can really put it to practice. Seriously, when I was praying for this session, all I was saying was, God, literally give them the strength to just, not everything, just a little fraction of what we are hearing in this period. And I'm sure you will be impressed with the results. This is what I was telling God. And I'm sure you'll be impressed with the results in a few years' time. So before we get in, I'm still waiting for the IT folks to put up my slide. But before we get in, I want you all to just take a deep breath. You know, take a deep breath, go in, Take a very deep breath and hold your breath in for a few seconds. Just go in. Hold your breath for a few seconds. Then slowly breathe out. I'm trying to calm you down because you've been receiving such great stuff. All right, tech folks, are we ready to get in? What I'm going to talk to you today, as Rev already described, my name is Andy Bisiaja. I was here a couple of weeks ago and I spoke to some of you. I really hope most of you are back on course today. I currently work for Hewlett Packard Enterprise. I also run a tech startup, and I also run a tech consulting agency as well. So I did start off my career in Nigeria at a very young age, and I started most of what I learned that took me to the next level where things started becoming formal. If you want to get into where things started becoming formalized, but before things started getting formalized with certificates and papers and all those things, I did a lot of my training on my own. I was a self-taught technician. And one of the things that helped to get me to the level where I was able to be approached by, and Rev will tell you this, at one point in time, while I was here, it got to a time, Rev was when I say Rev, I mean Rev Oyix. She was, if you can remember, that time, this was about 12 years ago. There were about there were about 3 to 4 major companies that were looking for me. Remember, and my confusion then was which one to choose.
Very true.
Yeah, there was Google, there was Vodafone, there was HP. There were a number of major tech companies that were calling me. They were begging me to come work for them at the time.
Yeah, very true.
And I was in a very small agency at the time, but there were specific things I was looking for in my career at the time. Even though these bigger companies were calling me and were pestering me, they were calling me and messaging me every day, come and work for us. There were just some specific things I was looking for in my career, and I needed a smaller organization to grow myself. And I remember those days I was so tempted because the money was outstanding. And I had to call Rev and I was like, what do I do? These people are calling me, I want to go, but I really need to stay in this small organization to learn. And she told me, just stay where you are, learn what you need to learn. The time will come, they will come for you again. She told me that these big companies that you want to run away to, they will come for you again. Stay where you are, learn what you need to learn, grow yourself. Then when it is time, those same people will come again for you. And she did it. And I followed her instructions. I stayed where I was, and I stayed back in that company. The money was less, but the experience I was getting was amazing. And true to word, like not long after that, a year later, they came back and I was able to move over to HP, and that has been the story so far. And it's been a great career. But the key thing I want you to get is the first part of my career, before I went into the formal sector and everything became formalized, every single thing was self-taught. Didn't wait for university